reading a lot of laws here in Exodus, and and I think we're going to start Leviticus tomorrow. So, and context being everything, these laws are written for a context that we're not familiar with. I mean, we couldn't even imagine what it would be like to follow follow God around in the wilderness for 40 years, even though that wasn't the main intent that God had with them. Um, we're living in a totally different culture now, and but what we can learn from these laws is God's personality. And because that never changes, we've already read today where he's a jealous God, and we think of that, and that can be kind of an insult to God, but it's absolutely not. When you have we're jealous in at heart on our own, and if you were to think that a jealous God is a bad thing, a jealous wife is not a bad thing. A jealous husband is not a bad thing. God has done a lot for this, and we're really going to see that. I can't wait till we get to the prophets. The prophets, I think, is my favorite part of the Bible. I love my two favorite are really the harshest ones, Ezekiel and Amos. And you know what? I really love all of them, but they really kind of take you and they show you the whole context, and you'll see when we get there. But what I wanted to say was that, some of these laws apply to us. A lot of these laws are moral, good, right laws, and many of them are just common sense. But there are some of them, and we're going to read some of them that are just out there. We don't live in a culture that you marry. We don't. There's not a bride price in American culture. I mean, there might be. There probably. I think there are in Africa. I don't know. If my friend Othenio that's in this group could probably tell you a little bit more about how that works. But we don't live in America. We don't live in in that situation. And some of these things are cultural, and some of them are civil laws. And we're about to read laws of justice and mercy. So this is really just kind of going on basic morality, but what we can really learn is the character of God, from reading His laws. So bear with me as we keep going through these things, because but they all do apply to life in general. So let's continue reading. We're in chapter 23. We're going to read on till I don't know. It's not too much more. Let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, I was going to show you. I've got these. I found my bookmark that I have. See, I have a few of the pages checked off. See, where the first one's checked off. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and now we're on day 6. And when we get done, I get to check that box right there. And when we get all the way down, I'll have all those boxes checked, and we'll feel like we've done something. It's a lot more work than you'd ever do to fill up your Subway card, isn't it? And get you a free sandwich, huh? I'll get you a certificate. I'll mail you guys certificates. Everybody that finishes, I'll mail you a certificate from your instructor. Well, all right, let's go. I'm wasting too much time. We're going to read to Exodus 29, so we only got a few more chapters to go. Chapter 23. Do not spread false reports. Do not help a guilty person by being a malicious witness. Do not follow the crowd by doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd, and do not show favoritism to a poor person in a lawsuit. If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to return it. If you see the donkey of someone who hates you fallen down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure to help them with it. So do not deny justice to your poor people in their lawsuits. You have nothing to do with a false charge, and do not put an innocent or honest person to death. for I will not acquit the guilty. Verse 8. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see, and it twists the words of the innocent. Verse 9. Do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be a foreigner, because you were foreigners in Egypt. Verse 10. For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops, but during the 7th year let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among your people may go and get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what is left. Do the same with your vineyard, and the same with your olive grove. 6 days do your work, but on the 7th do not work, so that your ox and your donkey may rest. And on the 7th, and so the slave is born in your household, and the foreigner living among you may be refreshed. Verse 13. Be careful to do everything I've said to you. Do not invoke the names of other gods. Do not let them be heard on your lips. Verse 14. 3 times a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time of the month of Aviv, for in that month you came out of Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. Verse 16. Celebrate the festival of harvest with the first fruits of the crops you sow in your field. Celebrate the festival of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in your crops from the field. 3 times a year all men are to appear before the sovereign Lord. Do not offer the blood of a sacrifice to me along with anything containing yeast. The fat of my festival offerings must not be kept until morning. Bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. That was a weird one. Verse 20. See, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him, for he will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies, and will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and will bring you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, and Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow before their gods or worship them or follow their practices. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. You worship the Lord your God, and his blessing will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan. Verse 27. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies and turn their backs and run. I will send the hornet ahead of you to drive the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites out of your way. But I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land would become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. Verse 31. I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the desert of the Euphrates River I will give into your hands the people who live in the land, and you will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or with their gods. Do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare to you. Chapter 24. Then the Lord said to Moses, Come up to the land You and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel, you are to worship at a distance, but Moses alone is to approach the Lord, and the others must not come near. They and the people may not come up with him. When Moses went and told the people all the Lord's words and laws, they responded with one voice, "Everything the Lord has said we will do." Moses then wrote down everything the Lord had said. He got up early the next morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain and set up 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes of Israel. And then he sent young Israelite men, and they offered burnt offerings and sacrificed young bulls as fellowship offerings to the Lord. Moses took half of the blood and put it in bowls, and the other half he splashed against the altar, and then took the book of the covenant and read it to the people. They responded, "We will do everything the Lord has said. We will obey." Verse 8. Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, "This is the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you in accordance with all these words." Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up, and saw the God of Israel. Under his feet was something like a pavement made of lapis lazuli, as bright blue as the sky. But God did not raise his hand against these leaders of the Israelites. They saw God, and they ate and drank. Verse 12. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain, and stay here, and I will give you the tablets of stone on the law and the commandments I have written for their instruction." Then Moses set out with Joshua his aide, and Moses went up on the mountain of God. He said to the elders, "Wait for us to come here until we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you, and anyone who involved in a dispute can go to them." Then Moses went up on the mountain, and the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For 6 days the cloud covered the mountain, and on the 7th day the Lord called Moses from within the cloud to the Israelites. The glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain. And then Moses entered the cloud as he went up onto the mountain, and he stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Just imagine, didn't that look like a volcano? You got this mountain, this fire coming out of it, and it's just crazy. Chapter 25. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering for me from every one whose heart prompts them to give. These are the offerings you are to receive from them: gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and another type of durable leather, acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, and onyx stones, and other gems are to be mounted on the ephod and breastplate. Then have them make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them. Make this tabernacle and its furnishings exactly the pattern I show you." Verse 10. Have them make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. Overlay it with pure gold, both inside and out, and make a gold molding around it. Cast 4 gold rings for it, and fasten them to its 4 feet, and 2 rings on one side, and 2 rings on the other. And make the poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. Insert the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry it. The poles are to remain in the rings of this ark. They are not to be removed. Then put in the ark the tablets of the covenant of the law which I will give you. Verse 17. Make an atonement cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide, and make 2 cherubim out of hammered gold at the ends of the cover. Make 1 cherub on one end, and the second cherub on the other. Make the cherubim of one piece with the cover, and at the 2 ends the cherubim are to have their wings spread upward, overshadowing the cover with them. And the cherubim are to face each other, looking toward the cover, to place the cover on top of the ark and put it in the ark. Put in the ark the tablets of the covenant of law that I will give you. Verse 22. There above the cover, between the 2 cherubim that are over the ark, over the covenant law, I will meet with you and give you all the commandments for the Israelites. Verse 23. Make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, a cubit wide, a cubit high, a cubit and a half high. Overlay it with pure gold and make a gold molding around it. Also make around it a rim and a handbreadth wide, and put gold molding over the rim. Make 4 gold rings for the table and fasten them onto the 4 corners where the 4 legs are. The rings are to be closed on the The rings are to be closed close to the rim to hold the poles and used in carrying the table. Make the poles of acacia wood, overlaying them with gold, and carry the table with them, and to make its plates and dishes of pure gold, as well as its pitchers and bowls for the pouring of offerings. Put the bread of the presence on this table before me at all times. Verse 31. Make a lampstand of pure gold, hammering out its base and shaft, and make its flower-like cups, buds and blossoms on one piece of them, one piece with them. 6 branches are to be extended from the sides of the lampstands, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. 3 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms are to be on one branch, 3 on the next branch, and the same for all 6 branches extending from the lampstand. And on the lampstand there are to be 4 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms. 1 bud shall be under the first pair of branches extending from the lampstand, a second bud under the second pair, and a third bud under the third pair, 6 branches in all. The buds and branches shall be all of one piece with the lampstand, and hammered out of pure gold. Then make it 7 lamps, and set them up on it, so they may light the space in front of it. Its wick trimmers and trays are to be out of pure gold. A talent of pure gold is to be used for the lampstand and all these accessories. See that you make them according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. Chapter 26. Make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of finely twisted linen and blue and purple and scarlet yarn, with cherubim woven into them by a skilled worker. All the curtains are to be the same size, 20 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together and do the same with the other 5. Make loops of blue material along the edge of the curtain in one set, and do the same with the end curtain on the other set. Make 50 loops in one curtain and 50 loops on the end curtain of the other set. with the loops opposite of each other, and then make 50 gold clasps, and use them to fasten the curtains together so that the tabernacle is a unit. Verse 7. Make curtains of goat hair for, for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 altogether. All 11 curtains are to be the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together into one set, and the other 6 into another set. Fold the 7th curtain double at the front of the tent. Make 50 loops along the edge of the curtain on the one set, and also another along the edge of the end curtain in the other set. Then make 50 bronze clasps and put them in the loops to fasten the tent together as a unit. As for the additional length of the 10 curtains, the half curtain is that the leftover is to hang down in the rear of the tabernacle. Verse 13. The tent curtains will be a cubit longer on both sides. That what is left over will hang over the sides of the tabernacle as to cover it. Make for the tent a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over that a covering of the other durable leather. Make upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Each frame is to be 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide, with 2 projections set parallel to each other. Make all the frames of the tabernacle in this way. Make 20 frames for the south side of the tabernacle, and make 40 silver bases to go under them. 2 bases for each frame, one under each projection. So for the other side, the north side of the tabernacle, make 20 frames and 40 silver bases, 2 under each frame. Make 6 frames for the far end, that is, the west end of the tabernacle, and make 2 frames for the corners at the far end. And these 2 corners must be double from the other side, from the bottom all the way to the top, and fitted into a single ring. Both shall be like that. So there will be 8 frames and 16 silver bases, 2 under each frame. Verse 26. Also make crossbars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on one side of the tabernacle, and 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for the frames on the west. At the far end of the tabernacle, the center crossbar is to extend from end to end at the middle of the frames. Overlay the frames with gold, and make gold rings to hold the crossbars. Also overlay the crossbars with gold. Set up the tabernacle according to the plans shown to you on the mountain. Make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, with a cherubim woven into it by a skilled worker. Hang it with gold hooks on the 4 posts of acacia wood overlaid with gold, and standing on the 4 silver bases. Hanging the curtain from the clasps, and place the ark of the covenant law behind the curtain. The curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. Put the atonement cover on the ark of the covenant of the law in the most holy place. Place the table on the outside of the curtain on the north side of the tabernacle, and put it on the lampstand opposite in the south side. Verse 36. For the entrance is to the tent, make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. Make gold hooks for this curtain, and 5 posts of acacia wood overlaid with gold, and cast 5 bronze bases for them. Chapter 27. Build an altar of acacia wood, 3 cubits high, it is to be square, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits wide. Make a horn at each of the four corners, so that the horns and the altars are of one piece, and overlay the altar with bronze. Make all of its utensils of bronze, its pots to remove the ashes, its shovels, sprinkling bowls, meat forks, and fire pans. Make a grating for it, for a bronze network, and make bronze ring at each of the four corners of the network. Put it under the ledge of the altar, so that it's halfway up the altar. Make poles of acacia wood for the altar, and overlaying them with bronze. The poles are to be inserted into the rings, so that they will be on two sides of the altar when it is carried. Make a hollow altar. Make Make the altar hollow out of boards. It is to be made just as you were shown on the mountain. Verse 9. Make a courtyard for the tabernacle. The south side shall be 100 cubits long, and it is also to have curtains of finely twisted linen, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side shall also be 100 cubits long, and it is to have curtains with 20 posts and the 20 bronze bases, with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The west end of the courtyard shall be 50 cubits wide, and to have curtains with 10 posts and 10 bases. On the east end, toward the sunrise, the courtyard shall also be 50 cubits wide. Curtains 15 cubits long are to be on the one side of the entrance, with 3 posts and 3 bases, and the curtains are 15 cubits long, are to be on the other side, with 3 posts and 3 bases. For the entrance to the courtyard, provide a curtain 20 cubits long of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer, with 4 posts and 4 bases. All the posts around the courtyard are to have silver bands and hooks and bronze bases. The courtyard shall be 100 cubits long and 50 cubits wide, with curtains of finely twisted linen, and 5 cubits high, and with bronze bases. All the other articles used in the services of the tabernacle, whatever their function, including the tent pegs for it and those for the courtyard, are to be of bronze. Verse 20. The command of the Israelites is to bring clear oil of pressed olives for the light, so that the lamps may be kept burning in the tent of meeting outside the curtains that shields the ark of the covenant law. Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening until morning. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for the generations to come. Chapter 28. Have Aaron your brother brought to you from among the Israelites, along with his sons Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, so that they may serve me as priests. Make sacred garments for your brother Aaron, to give him dignity and honor. Tell all the skilled workers to him that I have given wisdom in such matters, that they are to make garments for Aaron for his consecration, so that he may serve me as a priest. These are the garments that they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his sons, so they may serve me as priests. Have them use gold and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen. The ephod, verse 6. Make the ephod of gold, and of blue and purple and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen, the works of skilled hands. It is to have shoulder pieces attached to two of its corners so that it can be fastened. Its skillfully woven waistband will be like it, one piece with the ephod and made with gold, and with blue and purple and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen. Verse 9. Take only 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, in the order of their birth, 6 names on one stone, and the remaining 6 on the other. Engrave the names of the sons of Israel on the 2 stones, and the way a gem cutter engraves a seal. Then mount the stones in gold filigree settings, and fasten them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. Aaron is to bear the names on his shoulders as a memorial before God. Make gold filigree settings and 2 braided chains of pure gold like a rope, and attach the chains to the settings. Verse 15. Fashion a breastpiece for making decisions, the work of skilled hands. Make it like the ephod of gold and pure, of blue and purple and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen. It is to be square, a span long and a span wide, and folded double. Then mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. The first row shall be carnelian, chrysolite, and beryl. The second row shall be turquoise, lapis lazuli, and emerald. The third row shall be jacinth, agate, and amethyst. The fourth row shall be topaz, onyx, and jasper. Mount them in gold filigree settings, and there are to be 12 stones, one for each of the names of the sons of Israel, each engraved like a seal, with the name of one of the 12 tribes. For the breastpiece, make braided chains of pure gold like a rope. Make 2 rings for it, and fasten them to 2 corners of the breastpiece. Fasten the 2 gold chains to the rings at the corners of the breastpiece, and at the other ends of the chains of the 2 settings, attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod in the front. Make 2 gold rings and attach them to the other 2 corners of the breastpiece on the inside edge of the ephod. Make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod. Close the seam just above the waistband of the ephod. The rings of the breastpiece are to be tied to the rings of the ephod with blue cord, connecting it to the waistband so that the breastpiece will not swing out from the ephod. Verse 29. Whenever Aaron enters the holy place, he will bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart, and the breastpiece of decision as a continuing memorial before the Lord. Also put the Urim and the Thummim in the breastpiece, so that they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelites over his heart before the Lord. Verse 31. Make the robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth, with an opening for the head in its center. There shall be a woven edge like a collar around its opening, so that it will not tear. Make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn around the hem of the robe, with gold bells between them. The gold bells and the pomegranates are to alternate around the hem of the robe. Aaron must first wear it when he ministers. The sound of the bells will be heard when he enters the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, so that he will not die. Verse 36. Make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it as a seal, holy to the Lord. Fasten a blue cord to it and attach it to the turban. This is to be on the front of the turban. It will be on Aaron's forehead, and he will bear the guilt involved in the sacred gifts of the Israelites. Israelites consecrate whatever their gifts may be. It will be on Aaron's forehead continually, so that they will be acceptable to the Lord. Verse 39. Weave the tunic of fine linen, and make the turban of fine linen. The sash is to be the work of an embroiderer. Make tunics, sashes, and caps for Aaron's sons, and give them dignity and honor. After you put these clothes on your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint and ordain them, consecrate them, so that they may serve me as priests. Make linen undergarments as a covering for the body, reaching from the waist to the thigh. Aaron and his sons must wear them whenever they enter the tent of meeting, or approach the altar to minister in the holy place, so that they will not incur guilt and die. This is to be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendants. Chapter 39. This is what you are to do to consecrate them, so they may serve me as priests. Take a young bull and its 2 rams without defect, and from the finest wheat flour make round loaves without yeast, thick loaves without yeast, and with olive oil mixed in, and thin loaves without yeast and brushed with olive oil. Put them in a basket, and present them along with the bull and the 2 rams. Then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and wash them with water. Take the garments, and dress Aaron with the tunic, the robe of the ephod, and the ephod itself, and the breastpiece, and fasten the ephod with him on him by its skillfully woven waistband. Put the turban on his head, and attach the sacred emblem to the turban. Take the anointing oil, and anoint him by pouring it on his head. Bring his sons, and dress them in tunics. Fasten caps on them, and then tie sashes on Aaron and his sons. The priesthood is theirs by a lasting ordinance. Then you shall ordain Aaron and his sons. Verse 10. Bring the bull to the front of the tent of meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. Slaughter it in the Lord's presence at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and take some of the bull's blood and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, and pour out the rest of it at the base of the altar. And then take the fat on the internal organs, the long lobe of the liver, and both kidneys with the fat on them, and burn them on the altar. But burn the bull's flesh and its hide and its intestines outside the camp. It is a sin offering. Verse 15. Take one of the rams, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head, slaughter it, and take the blood and splash it against the sides of the altar. Cut the ram into pieces, and wash the internal organs and the legs, putting them with the head and the other pieces, and then burn the entire ram on the altar. It is a burnt offering to the Lord, a pleasing aroma, a food offering presented to the Lord. Take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. Slaughter it, and take some of its blood, and put it on the lobes of the right ears of Aaron and his sons, on the thumbs of their right hands, and on the big toes of their feet, and then splash blood against the sides of the altar, and take some blood from the altar, and sprinkle it, and some of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it on Aaron and his garments, and on his sons and their garments, and then he and his sons and their garments will be consecrated. Verse 22. Take from this ram the fat, and the fat tail, and the fat on the internal organs, and the long lobe of the liver, and both kidneys with the fat on them, and the right thigh. This is the ram for the ordination. Verse 23, from the basket of bread made without yeast, and which is before the Lord, take one round loaf, and one thick loaf with olive oil mixed in, and one thin loaf. Put these in the hands of Aaron and his sons, and have them wave them before the Lord as a wave offering. Then take them from their hands and burn them on the altar along with the burnt offering for a pleasing aroma to the Lord, a food offering presented to the Lord. After you take the breast from the ram for Aaron's ordination, wave it before the Lord as a wave offering. This will be your share. Verse 27. Consecrate those parts of the ordination ram that belonged to Aaron and his sons, and the breast that was waved, and the thigh that was presented, and this will always be the perpetual share of the Israelites for Aaron and his sons. From the Israelites for Aaron and his sons. It is the contribution of the Israelites are to make to the Lord from their fellowship offerings. Verse 29. Aaron's sacred garments will belong to his descendants, so that they can be anointed and ordained in them. The sons who succeed him as priests will come to the tent of meeting to minister in it in the holy places, is to wear them 7 days. Take the ram for the ordination and cook the meat in a sacred place, at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Aaron and his sons are to eat the meat of the ram and the bread that is in the basket. They are to eat these offerings by which atonement was made for their ordination and consecration. But no one else may eat them because they are sacred. And if any of the meat of the ordination ram or any bread is left over until morning, burn it up. It must not be eaten because it is sacred. Verse 35. Do for Aaron and his sons everything I have commanded you, taking 7 days to ordain them. Sacrifice a bull each day as a sin offering and to make atonement. Purify the altar by making atonement for it, and anoint and consecrate it. For 7 days make atonement for the altar and consecrate it. And then the altar will be most holy, and whatever touches it will be holy. Verse 38. This is what you are to offer on the altar regularly each day: 2 lambs a year old, offering one in the morning and the other at twilight. Verse 40. With the first lamb, offer a tenth of an ephah of the finest flour, and mixed with a quarter of a hin of olive oil from pressed olives, and a quarter of a hin of wine as a drink offering. Sacrifice the other lamb at twilight with the same grain offering and its drink offerings as in the morning. A pleasing aroma, a food offering presented to the Lord. Verse 42. For the generations to come, this burnt offering is made to him to be made regularly at the entrance to the tent of meeting before the Lord. There I will meet you and speak to you. There also I will meet with Israelites, and the place will be consecrated by my glory. So I will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar, and will consecrate Aaron and his sons to serve me as priests. And then I'll dwell among the Israelites to be their God. They will know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of Egypt, so that I might dwell among them. I am the Lord their God. Well, that's it. We're done for today. Tomorrow's day 7. We've been at this for a week now. Well, 6 days. I love it. I love reading. I hope you guys are liking this. I'm enjoying it. All right. That's it. See you tomorrow. Love you.